Hello and welcome to the lecture 6 of React object rendering coding part. So let's go to the VS Code. So let's create the repository by cloning the template. So let's go to the address. So copy the address and then okay, just clone it. Um, so write git clone the address. And then I'll write the repository name as React Object Rendering. Okay, so you see that is there, and then go inside cd React Object Rendering. Okay. Now we see that um, we have the JSON file, so we can install the dependencies by writing npm install, and then we'll do npm start. Okay, so we got our template running. Okay, so one thing is that if you want to run the template, then you should have all the things that you need to install, right, which we have discussed in the first lecture. So you need to have the node.js to be installed, you need the VS Code, and you need install all the dependencies which is inside the JSON file. Okay. um, the JSON actually says that okay, what are the dependencies, so it will install this, but you also need to install the node and git, okay, and also the VS Code, obviously. Okay. So all this link I'll give in the video description. Okay, so let's go to our source file, which is app.js. Okay, so now let's create our component. Okay, so you create a student component which we'll use to demo the object um, rendering, STUDL. Okay, so we need to create the component. So you write function and student, and then we will write the return statement. Okay, and then fragment symbol. Okay, so now let's create an object. Okay, so first we'll start with the simple objects, and then we'll create a nested object. Okay, so you create an object, say constant student, and then we write the JavaScript object. So you say name, say Ellen, and then say ID is say 2 3 4 5 7. Let's say that GPA is 3.98. Okay. Now, so this is the JavaScript object. So you want to render it in the JSX. So it's super simple, right? We just need to write the JSX expression. Okay. So let's say that we write in H3, and then we write student information. And then we'll see that whether it's working. So we can see that so far it's rendering fine. And now we can render through, let's say that p tag. Okay. Um, we say student name, and then give a space here, and then we write the object dot name. Okay, and then it should render the student name. Okay, the same way I can just copy and paste here, and then okay, I don't want to write the student every time. Let's say that this is the ID of the student, so you just write the student.id, and then it should render the student ID. Okay, and then let's say that I'll just do one more time this one for GPA, and then you can write whatever you want to display the string, the GPA. Okay, so GPA is this. So you see that it's super easy if you just can access directly with the property. Okay, the name of the property. Now, the other way that you can do using object.entries method, which we have discussed in the previous lecture, right? So let's say that if you want to do the same thing with, so let's say that we write a break here, and then we write, so use alternative technique. Okay. So it's a dynamic technique. So this is more recommended technique if you can write this way. Okay. So let's say the same thing we want to do, but this time we write object dot entries. Okay, let's get some space here. Okay. So we write, so since this is a JSX expression, so we write the curly braces, and then we write here object, so O is uppercase, and then there's the entries method, so entries, and if you pass the object, so here our object is the student, so it will return you a nested array, right? So since this is an array, then we need to write the map, and then so this is the map method, right? And then so we are going to write a callback function which will execute, right? So inside the callback function, so this will be a callback function and it will return something. So what we should write inside the callback function? So we want to destructure the array. So we'll say this is a key, okay, and then next one is the value, and then next one is the array index, okay. And now here we want to return, okay. So what do you want to return? Let's say that we want to return inside the p tag. Um, so we write this is a p tag, and then inside the p tag we want to return the key and the value, right? So key, and let's say that we want to write property comma value colon value. So we write key and the value, and we can also give this one the key of it. This one is the index, okay. So you see that what we did, so instead of writing like this, right? So here we have written 3 lines because we have the 3 different property. So we just wrote 1 line here, and then the other one is the mapping. Okay, so this is basically the expressions that you want to map through all the key value pair, okay, and then we just write how we want to render it, okay. So you see that in this approach, if you have more property, and then you need to write all the lines, okay, manually, okay, but here is more dynamic, right? So it doesn't matter how many property and the value you have in your objects, right? JavaScript objects, okay. So let's see that whether this one is working, and you see that this one is also working fine. Okay, it shows name, ID, and GPA. Okay, so because we did not change the property name, so whatever the property name in the objects, we got that way. Now, let's say that if you have a nested objects, right? So let's say that the student also has the address property, and then this is an object. So here we have the, let's say, the city, and city name, let's say that New York, New York, okay, and then let's say that we also have the property is zip code, okay, say like New York City, okay, and then let's say that zip code is 12345, and then let's say we write the state as in Y. Okay, so that's our address, right? So if we want the direct access of this information, then we need to write student dot address and then dot city, student dot address dot zip code, student dot address dot state, right? So we need to write basically 3 times. So let's write this one. So we write, okay, so let's say that address we are going to write in h4 tag, and then we write address, and then inside the here we are going to write, say, let's say that p tag. So give a, okay, p tag here, and then we are going to write student dot address dot city. Okay, so let's say that we want to write like this, and then okay, so let's say that if you want to write in the single line, right? Okay, so you write student address dot city, and then um, the next one is student dot address dot zip code, and then so city zip code, and then you want to give a comma, and then you write student dot address dot state. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so we also need to change this one as well, right? So if I want to just see that this one is working fine, let's comment out this part, and then we can see that whether the direct access is working. Okay, so this is what the direct property access rendering look like. So you have New York City, this is the zip code, and then the state. Okay, so it's written like this. Okay, now let's say that if you want to replicate this one for using the object.entries technique. Okay, so let's remove the command line, and now we we need to now check, okay, that any of the value, right? So for example here, for this key the value is an object, so we need to check that. Okay, so do you have that condition that the value is an object? So then we need to again do the this way, object or entries and map, right? So we need to do that. So let's write that condition. So we write type of value uh, equal to object. Okay, so whether this one is an object. Okay, if the value is an object, and then you write this condition. Okay, and then if this is, then let's say that you return a div block. um, okay, so let's say that we write this div block if this condition is true. Okay, so this is the ternary operator, right? um, so this, and then if not, okay, then you want to return something else, which is here. Okay, so now you see that, so if this condition is true, so then you need to uh, go inside this object. Okay, otherwise we'll just write the property and the value, which is this part. Okay, so now what we are going to check here. Okay, so we are going to check, so this is another expressions. So we need to write object dot entries, um, okay, object dot entries, and then we need to give the value. Okay, and so this value, okay, so the value is here, this one is an object. Okay, and then we write map. Okay, so the map will return something, right? So that's why we need to write here, okay, so this map will return something. Okay. Okay, so here we write Okay, so here we are going to write sub um, key comma sub value. So we need to destructure this, and then we write sub index. Okay, so what we are going to return here, so we are going to return the, this is under the p tag, we want to return all the things, right? So you want to return this thing, so we write sub key, we want to write colon, um, we write um, sub value, and then we give, say, key equal to sub index. Okay, um, so now let's see that what we have missed. Okay, so this is JavaScript object entries dot map. Okay, so this is basically the map function, and then um, this one is um, this one is my callback function. Okay, and callback function will return this one. Okay, so let's see. So it shows, right? So it says city is New York because we were writing all the property and the value, and then property and the value. Okay, so we just rendered it differently, but you see that it's working fine. Okay, so rendering how you want to render, whether you want to write under the p tag or not, so it's up to you. Okay, but you see that this one, it's a little bit tricky because we need to check whether we have a nested object or not. If it is a nested object, then we need to go again and do the object dot entries, and then um, get the array for that value of that object, and then we do the mapping. Okay? So that's how it works when you have a nested object. Okay, so it's up to you whether you comfortable to do like this way or you want to do this way. Okay, so this is like more dynamic and then more scalable because we don't need to worry about what is the exact name of the property here, because we just the property will be replaced by the dynamic variable here. Okay, so overall, so this is, so in the lecture 5 we actually did the array rendering, right, where you use the map method, and here we are doing the object rendering. And then inside the object we also, when you get the array, then you also use the map method. Okay, so they basically work hand to hand, object and object or entries in the map. So the others two method we have discussed in the theory lecture, where we could write also object dot keys, we can write object dot values. Okay, that will return the array of keys and array of values respectively. Okay, but this one return the nested array of key and value pair. Okay, so this one is like you have more control because you get all the informations, and then you can decide which one you're going to render. Okay, so that's it. Thank you very much, and see you in the next lecture.